Islam is a cancer that needs eradicating. Multiculturalism does not work in this country. Clear them all off to the desert with their camels. That's their way of life. Former UKIP MEP Godfrey Bloom. It is better not to argue with women. When people push boundaries too far, it's not because they are strong, but because they are weak. But maybe weakness is not the worst quality for a woman. Vladimir Putin. The question at the core of the debate on homosexuality is, what do we do with an abnormal person? Do we imprison him or her? Or do we kill him or her? President of Uganda. These are just a sample of recent statements delivered by today's powerful figures. And these messages have been spread across the world. Now, I can hear some of you in shock with these statements. But believe it or not, there are many that actually might agree with these people. My name is Vincent Acris, and I'm a firm believer in equality and rights for all. Now, I'm also an extremely proud Gibraltarian, and for me, Gibraltar represents not only just strength, but diversity. And the people, when I think about Gibraltar, I think about the people and who we are and what we represent. And the fact that we live in a democracy, which I think we should value. Just think about it, the rights that we have today. I mean, we fought so hard for things such as the right for women to vote, for cultures to be integrated in society and be accepted. Things that, like this, we shouldn't take for granted. Now, during my reign as Mr. Gibraltar, I've had 6 months of it, and it's been an absolute pleasure to represent Gibraltar abroad, which I should be doing so in June. But until then, and up until now, I've been actually working quite closely with the community, dealing with charity work, working with the vulnerable, people dealing with cancer, and also social issues such as domestic violence. In a democracy like ours, we uphold the right for these vulnerable people to have the right to health services, education, and to be treated fairly and equally, which I believe is so important. Now, when I think about also the way we've progressed in recent years, and actually only just last year, we passed the legislation for equal marriage, which before my reign I actually campaigned for, along with Felix Alvarez and co, with the GGR group, and that has become a reality today. Now, I know some of you might not agree with this, and you're entitled to your opinion, but the main thing is that we keep a dialogue going, so that we don't just tolerate one another, but we accept and understand. And let me just say to you that actually, with this new legislation in place, it is not about accepting this as something, well, to say, if I'm not homosexual, then I'm not okay with that. But let me tell you, I was at the first gay wedding back in December at the end of last year. And what I witnessed on that day was just pure joy and happiness. I mean, really, these two, my friends, they were surrounded by those who really loved them and cared. And from that day forward, you could just see these two that were meant to be, that wanted just to have a happy future together. And I think they're entitled to that, as is all of you. But before we've reached today's progress, let me just tell you a little bit about where I started. Now, back when I was a youngster, I grew up with my mum, dad, and sis with very humble beginnings. I grew up on the Rock, and I went to a first school just by the Alameda Gardens. I'm sure you can work out which one that is. And it was a happy time for the most part, you know. I think I enjoyed myself tremendously. The teachers are great. no problems whatsoever. But I always remember having my best friend, which I won't name, but maybe we'll just call him Michael for today. And so Michael and I, we had a strong bond, you know. We were innocent, young, and shared lots of fun experiences in and outside of school. And then quite quickly, my years at first school came to an end. And soon I'd be starting my secondary education up into middle school. And this was obviously a bit of a daunting time, as I was probably a bit nervous about what to expect, you know, who I'd be meeting, new faces. But I felt lucky that Michael and I would be going together and I was really quite happy that we would be going to the same school, as there are many to choose from. So came the first day at school. I was ready. My mum had me all smart, brushed my hair nice, and I thought I'm ready to go. I'm going to go in with a positive attitude. And I was happy to see Michael there on the playground. But weeks passed, and amongst our peers, groups start to form. And slowly I noticed that actually Michael became a little bit more distant and actually eventually very unfamiliar to me, almost a stranger by the end of the first year. And I don't know what it was, but I guess I was sort of being labelled as different at some stage, and I wasn't sure what that difference was. And then it was only until I started hearing words like maricón, queer, and being spat at, I thought, well, there must be something wrong with me. I couldn't comprehend why. And I didn't even know what being gay was at that time. But, you know, I just carried on. I had to find an inner strength in myself to say, well, okay, just get my head down and get on with it. And now I can stand here today and be quite happy and proud of who I am. And I'm happy and I am proud to say that, yes, as well as being Gibraltarian, I am also gay. And in these kind of pageants, such as Mr. Gibraltar, it kind of represents the alpha sort of stereotype of what it means to be male. But, you know, I think the modern Gibraltarian is far greater than that and far more diverse. And so I think it's important within our community and institutions such as education, the workplace, and even with the RGP to eradicate these kind of phobias, not just for the LGBT community, but in terms of people of different race and religion and so on. I think in a world that we live in today, there's certainly a change of mood in terms of where we're going and what do we expect tomorrow with the likes of Brexit and the new president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Who knows? But let me just reiterate the fact that the freedoms that we enjoy today are not necessarily guaranteed tomorrow. So let's build alliances. Let's keep a dialogue moving. Let's understand one another. Let's not hate, but let's love. And with love, we can certainly achieve great things. And as we all know too well in Gibraltar, that borders do not work. Let's open up our hearts and our minds, and let's hope for a more prosperous future. Thank you.